Okay, we are on YouTube. This is 4th hour. There are currently 0 people watching, but that's fine. We're going to go through the study guides. Your test, as you can see, is Wednesday. Essays, I don't know yet. I don't know which essays we're going to do. We'll get to that as we go on. Here we go. Number 2 on section 1. If you're watching from home, I think we only have 2 full-time remotes now, but you need to have all 3 of your study guides done. Everything's got to be finished. They all got to be complete sentences. 3 sentences on the essay. It's 0. This is chapter 8 plus 2 constitution tests. Everybody should know that by now, not just people in here at home. We have 1 viewer. Hello. So here we go. 2 precedents that Washington set as the first president. I'll tell you one of them. Only serving 2 terms is one. That's one of the easiest ones, too. Yes. People calling him Mr. President. That's the 2 I would put. Doesn't mean it has to be the 2 you would put. You can also put something about using the army to put down rebellions for the Whiskey Rebellion. That would be a good one. There are probably other examples that you could ask about if you want to. But the 2 I would put would be serving 2 terms and being called Mr. President. Number 3, what were the 3 departments in the first cabinet? What departments were part of the first cabinet? Let's try that again. There we go. Name one. Lexi, go. The Department of Treasury. CJ. Say it again. War. Treasury. War. What's the third one? Nicholas. State. Treasury. War. State. Okay. Number 4. Who were the secretaries of those departments? And make sure you're able to match which one is which. So who was the secretary or the head of the State Department? Michaela. Tom Jefferson. Who was the head of the Treasury Department? Alexander Hamilton. Who was the head of the War Department? Nicholas. Knox. So make sure you can match them. War, Knox, State, Jefferson, Treasury, Hamilton. Number 5, the first 10 amendments are called Michaela, the Bill of Rights. Section 2, the name of the Farmers' Rebellion in 1794. I've already said that today in here. Tyler, the Whiskey Rebellion. Number 3, not a very simple answer, so I'll help you here. What was the result of that rebellion? What happened, in other words? Washington called in the army to put the rebellion down, and that showed Americans that if they want to change laws, they have to go through legal avenues, not just shoot and stab their way into getting their way. So the result was Washington called in the army to put down the rebellion, and people had to use their congressmen to change laws. Incidentally, people watching at home, I made a typo on the chapter 8, section 2 study guide. It says 10.2 at the top. It's actually 8.2, obviously. On the ones on the Google Classroom, I've changed them, so it may not be a problem for you. But if it is, this is obviously chapter 8, not chapter 10. Number 4, what were 2 problems we were having with Europe? As I had to explain to 8th hour, England and France and Spain are all countries that are in Europe. So I had somebody ask me, like, I can't find problems with Europe. I found all these problems with Spain. And I was like, well, yeah, there you go. Yes, go ahead. Choosing sides? Yeah, I would say that's a good answer. As I talked about when we did this in class, there were basically 5 groups in America. Us, the English, the Spanish, the French, and the Native Americans. And so choosing who's on which side, if and when war is going to break out, was a big problem. Like I said in class, it was like a Facebook relationship post. Like, it's complicated. It was very complicated. Nobody knew if there was going to be a war, and if so, with whom, and who's going to be on our side or who's shooting us. What's another problem with a European country in Section 2? England, I'll give you this one free. England was still not leaving the forts. They were still in the forts that they had been occupying since the Revolutionary War. Spain stopped letting us use the Mississippi River. That was one. That was a big problem. Anyway, there's a bunch. So I just named 3 myself, plus what Tyler said. You only need 2. Number 5, what was the name of the treaty signed with the British? Yes. Jay's Treaty. Why did some Americans not approve of the treaty? Yeah. It didn't do squat. It just said what was already said. In class the other day, we lost a viewer. I'm sorry, I must have been boring. In class the other day, it was like, the menu for lunch was hamburger and fries and fruit. And so Jay's Treaty would be like, hey, we got a new menu this week. On Thursday, instead of hamburgers, fries, and fruit, we're having hamburger, fries, and fruit. And you'd be like, well, that was what it already said. And so, yeah, it didn't really change anything. Number 7, what was the name of the treaty we signed with Spain? What was the name of the treaty we signed? Tyler knows. Pinckney's Treaty. 266. Pinckney's Treaty. Like Pinckneyville. And yes, that's why it's named that, by the way. Mm-hmm. Named after him. Here we go. Who was elected president in 1796? Tyler. John Adams. Please do not put Adams. Put J. Adams or John Adams. John, not Jhon, which is how a lot of you think John is spelled. It's not, though. There's Samuel Adams, plus our 6th president is John Quincy Adams. John Adams' son, certified insane person. We'll get to that later. Who became the vice president? Tyler. TJ, says TJ, and he's right. Thomas Jefferson. You can. There's only, obviously there's more than one Jefferson, but I'm saying in our chapter. The reason why that was so noteworthy is because they were running against each other, which is why the 12th Amendment was passed that prevented that from happening, which we'll talk about in the next chapter. Why was Washington against the development of political parties? That's kind of an opinion, but it's basically he thought it would lead to constant bickering and fighting. I would say he's been proven right. Number 4, what were the first two political parties and who were their leaders? Go. The Federalists and the Democratic Republicans. Make sure, Sean, go ahead. We did what? We definitely didn't. I said he was against the development of political parties because he thought that it would cause people to fight and bicker constantly. Anyway, who are the leaders? Let's start with the Federalists. Who was the leader of the Federalists? Yes. Huh? Yeah, Hamilton is who I'm looking for. A lot of people put John Adams, and I would take that, honestly, because when they had an election, they made him the candidate for president. So it's hard for me to sit here and say, well, So I would take John Adams or Alexander Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton is the real answer we're looking for, but I would take either. Who's leader of the Democratic Republicans? Thomas Jefferson. Number 5, what were some issues the first two political parties disagreed on? If you look at that chart on 269, okay, the Federalists thought the wealthy class should rule. The Republicans thought the people should rule. The Federalists thought there should be strong federal government. The Republicans thought there should be strong state government. The Federalists believed in manufacturing. The Republicans believed in farming. The Federalists liked the British. The Republicans liked the French. The Federalists believed in a loose interpretation of the Constitution, meaning you can do anything the Constitution doesn't say you can't do, whereas the Republicans thought you could only do exactly what it says. Okay? Again, that's about 6 different things. There are even more. They're on the chart on 269 if you didn't get any of that. Number 6, last question today. Name 2 important events from the presidency of John Adams. 2 important events from the presidency of John Adams. 2 things that happened while John Adams was president. I'll just make it easy. If they mentioned it in the book, it must have been pretty important. So anything it talks about in the book, we'll take. Yeah. The Xyz Affair. France basically tried to extort a bribe from us instead of like talking. Yeah. Domestic just means things are happening in the country. Foreign means things happening with other countries. So you need to tell me what those were. So no, in other words. We've got one, XYZ Affair. I'm looking at 270, 271. I see several. Oh, wait. Yes, go ahead. Say it again. Yeah, we had undeclared war with France. That's definitely another one. The Virginia and Kentucky resolutions would count. The Alien and Sedition Acts would count. I'm sure there are more, but those are the ones I can think of. That's your test, plus your essay. I don't know what the essay is going to be yet. You'll find out when you take the test. Make sure you're ready for all of them. Bye, YouTube. One viewer now or anybody watching in the future. I will see you later.